Hello everyone. So today in this video we'll be setting up a Stable Diffusion cloud server for our personal use. We'll be using AWS Amazon Web Services to set up the cloud system. As you all know, AWS is Amazon's cloud computing service where we can rent computer resources such as CPU, GPU, RAM, storage and public IP address on demand. And we only need to pay for the hours we use. And the services that we'll be using within AWS include EC2. So compute instances to host our Stable Diffusion server will be requiring computing resources. So we'll be selecting GPU, CPU and RAM specification accordingly, and the instance will have options to run A1111, which will be our UI to access the Stable Diffusion interface. We'll also be using elastic IP address. So since we'll be requiring fixed IP address, so without fixed IP address we'll need to change the domain and IP configuration every time. So we'll be requiring elastic IP address, and we'll also be requiring S3 bucket. So this will be optional, but we'll also be using this one, and we'll be storing our AI models into the S3 bucket, which will be an economic choice rather than storing the model in EBS itself. So as you can see, I'm on my AWS interface, so I'll be signing into the console. So let me sign into the console. So here you can see this is my IAM user sign on. So currently I am providing my AWS account ID. So this is my AWS account ID, and Amazon username and password will be this one. Okay, let me sign in. Okay, so I'm currently able to sign in into my AWS console, and today we'll be creating the EC2 instance from console itself. So let me go to EC2 section, and let me go to instances, and here is the launch instance option. So I'll be giving my server name AI server. Okay, let me give a name like AI workload server and my AMI. So an AMI is a template that contains the software configuration, including operating system, application server, and applications required to launch your instance. Search or browse for AMI if you don't see what you are looking for below. So there are other customized AMI as well, but we'll be going with the more generic one. So this will be using Ubuntu as our OS image. And currently we are selecting Ubuntu servers 24.04 as our operating system. And we'll be selecting 64-bit x86 architecture. So this is the AMI ID that we'll be using, and this is the published date. It's the last date that it was published, so it's 2025-35, and it's a verified provider. And instance type, so as I mentioned, we'll be requiring GPU compute. So for that I'll be requiring instance according to the same specs, which will be G4dn.xlarge. So it's 4 GPU, 16 GB of memory, and so on. So as you can see, on demand Linux based pricing will be 0.5 to 6 per hour. So that's a lots of price that we need to pay, but keep that in mind. It will be also adding other additional cost as well. So to log in into my server, I'll be requiring key pair. So let me create a new key pair here, and this will be my AI, or let me give. Okay, let me create a key pair. It will be downloading the key pair. Okay, so now we do have our key pair as well, and I'll be allowing port 443 for HTTPS traffic. So this is the configuration for our security group. So it's like a firewall that based on our configuration allows and disallows accordingly, and we can also specify specific IP address for accessing a specific port within the server. So currently I am allowing anywhere IP address that is 0.0.0/0, and for storage I'll be selecting 250 GB of storage. Since the model will be of heavy size, so we'll be requiring this one. And as you can see, the current storage is consisting of two volumes. The one that we are including is 250 GB, and another I think it's adding 125 GB, which is pre-configured with this instance type. So based on that we have a storage volume of 375 GB. So let me launch the instance. And also keep that in mind, after each session you might need to stop the instance, because if we stop the instance, the compute pricing won't be charged to what Otherwise, it will be keep charging at the rate of running instances, so it might be quite heavy. And the storage is persistent, meaning that all the files and settings stay the same between the sessions, so there is no different from your local PC. So now we already have our EC2 instance. So as I said, we gave it a name which was AI workload server. The instance type we chose was G4dn.xlarge. And as I mentioned, G4dn.xlarge has 4 GPU, 16 GB RAM, and one T4 GPU with 16 GB of VRAM. And if we want more RAM, we might, uh, take other instance of different instance type, which could be, G4dn.2xlarge, which comes with, 8 GPU and 32 GB RAM, and so on. And also, I must say that this G4dn is not the only, instance family. We can pick other as well. So there are G6, there are G5, which are, 2 times 3 times faster than this instance. So that will be our, specific use case. So let me go to terminal and let's try to log into this. So let me go to download, since our key pair is located there. So downloads, my key was AI workload or something, and Ubuntu will be Ubuntu, and at the rate, my IP address will be this one. Let me go here and let me copy this. So this is the public IP address. Remember, this is not the elastic IP address, so we will be taking a look on how we can add that. Okay, let me do yes. Permission is to export. So the key permission is to export. So chmod 400 AI workload. Let me try doing SSH login once again, and I think we might be able to access the server. So currently I am inside the server. Let me increase the font size and let me decrease a bit. Okay, so this is the server description. So we have a server with OS image of Ubuntu 24.04.2 and so on. So let me clear this. Okay, so we are good to go. So first and foremost, what we need to do is we need to update the system. So first off, I'll be updating the system, sudo apt update. So this will be updating the packages available here. Okay, so let me also update the system, sudo apt. No packages have been kept back due to phasing. Okay. And since we are using NVIDIA GPU, so we'll need a NVIDIA driver to access the GPU. So upgrade might take some time. Okay, so the upgrade is successful. Now we'll be installing the NVIDIA driver. So sudo apt install NVIDIA driver-535. Yes. Now we'll be installing Python 3.10. So since Stable Diffusion software requires Python to be installed, so we'll be adding next repository. Loading new NVIDIA DKMS file. So it's adding the 535 driver for us. Let's wait until the boot is enabled on the system and we shall move on with Python installation step. Okay, so this is the GitHub repo for automatic one that we'll be using as an web interface for our Stable Diffusion. So this is the UI and our interface will look somewhat similar to this one. So let's see. Okay, so this might take a bit of time. All you got to have is patience, because this will be taking a lot of time, and during the model install and download as well, because the model will be of heavy file size. So yeah, in the meantime I'll also be creating a new cell, and let's continue here as well. Let me do the SSH login. I think I am on different directory. Let me go to downloads. Let me do the SSH login. Okay, not config. I think it's copying the different URL for us. That's fine. Let me cut this back, and we are back to the older one. Okay, so let me add that snakes repository for installing our Python. So let me paste this here. So now it added the repository. So let me install now. Sudo apt install Python 3.10. Okay, now I'll set Python 3.10 as my default Python version whenever I type Python 3. Okay, so let's check our Python version, Python 3 dash dash version. So this is our current Python version, and I'll also be installing the Python VENV virtual environment. This will help us to create a virtual environment that. Okay, I think I added a space extra dot here. Okay, so this will install the VENV package for us. Now let's check NVIDIA SMI. Okay, let me go back here. G4dn.xlarge, right? Okay, so since we had not rebooted our system, so this is giving us this one. So let me reboot this once, or let me try. Still it might give us communication. Okay, so now I might be missing this sudo as I am logged in as Ubuntu user, so that's causing this one. So that's fine. Right? Okay, so as we can see, our GPU is ready to use. So there are no current processes found, meaning that any processes which are GPU intensive aren't yet running. And last thing I'd like to do is define an elastic IP address for this one. So as you know, an elastic IP address is a fixed public IP address that we rent from AWS, and it's not straightly necessary for this setup, but to keep the machines reliable and accessible in the meantime, so we choose an elastic IP address. So let me go to elastic IP address section. So this is the elastic IP address which lies within network and security tab. So let me allocate elastic IP address. So this is the region where we have. So keep that in mind, that wherever your instance is and wherever you want your EIP to be associated, you will need to select the region accordingly. Now I'm allocating this one. So let me go here. And currently this is not associated with any of instance ID. So let me associate elastic IP address with instance. So this is our instance, and this is the private IP address in which it is running. Okay, so this is associated with our EC2 instance. So let me go back to EC2 instance, and let me go back here, and let me go here. And here we can see this is the elastic IP address. So it assigned this public IP address itself as an elastic IP address for this instance. So this looks good. Now this is, as I mentioned, this is the repo will be working. So let me go here, and let me go to Ubuntu user directory. Okay, what's wrong? My terminal seems to be freezed. Let me terminate this once. Let me rerun this one. Let me go to my downloads folder directory. Sorry, let me clear this, and let me do SSH login. 389 42 to 49. That's the difference one. let me copy this public IP address and let me go back here. I think over this one, paste the IP address and let's hit enter. Yes. Okay, so we are logged in, right? Let me clear the screen again once. Let me increase the font size and let me show you where I am currently. So let me do pwd. So this is the present working directory that I'm currently on. So we'll be adding the repo within this home slash home slash Ubuntu directory. So let me come back here. Let me copy the repo URL. Let me go back to terminal and git clone, and this will be my repo URL. Okay, let me do ls. So this is the Stable Diffusion Web UI, and let me go inside this Stable Diffusion Web UI. Let me do ls, and inside this we'll be seeing Web UI user.assets. Okay, let me show you where is it. Yeah, this is the one. So we need to execute this one. So first let's see what lies inside this web user.assets. So this is the one. Okay, install on directory without trailing slash, name of subdirectory, command line argument for web UI. So Python 3 executable command. Yeah, this is basically the startup command that's been running as a shell script. So let me go back here. I don't need Cloud Shell now. Let me go back here and let me first run nano here. Before running nano, let me do sudo nano and web UI. That's user dot, not this one, sorry, dot sh. Let me go here, and what I'll need to do is uncomment the line with command line arguments. So this is my command line argument line. So this is already uncommented. So let me add this at the last of this file. So let me add comment here that custom added by admin, and I'll be adding this command line argument here. Let me save this file. Okay, so after adding this will be enabling, Okay, let me do WebUI user.sh grep. Okay, so this is the line that we added, right? So this enables, us to connect to A1111 from another computer, such as our local computer, and it also, allows us to, install extension whenever we are connected remotely. So now we'll be installing and running the web UI. Keep that in mind that this might take some time. So before running this, let me run webui.sh. Okay, so it will be installing the packages that we'll be requiring, and I think it will be working on port number 7860. So for that I might need to open the port accordingly. So let me go to my server security group, and within the inbound rule, let me go here and let me edit the inbound rule, and within the inbound rule let me add a rule. So that will be my 7860 port number, and my IP address will be 0.0, and let me add this one. So this is for stable, not A1111 web UI port, and 22 will be for SSH, 80 will be for HTTP, and 443 will be for HTTPS accordingly. Let me save the rules. Okay, let me go back to terminal. It's still downloading. So here we can see it downloaded 2.2 GB file, and accordingly it's downloading other files similar to this one. So some are of MB, some are of GB, and so on. And let me go to my browser with my IP address. So this is my IP address. Let me copy this. Let me go here. 7860 will be the IP address. So let me hit enter here. Let us first wait to complete this, and only the URL will be accessible. Okay, so I think it's launching now. So installing requirement, I think it's completed. So it's downloading the safe tensor file. So these are the models. So currently we are using v1-5-pruned ema only dot safe tensors. So currently, as you can see, the model is of size 3.9 GB. Okay, let me refresh this once. Yeah, so it's loading. So this is the interface that we get. So text to image. So let me add a prompt. Cyberpunk city with people realistic. So let me just add this one only for now. Let's see how much time it takes. So here we can see it generated the image for us. So this is the image. Currently I see it's not that detailed. So sampling steps is just 20 steps. So let me add this to 40 sampling steps. So the time might be increased, but we'll be having better result. And let me increase the height and width to 1024 and 1024 for now. Batch size let's set to 1 itself. Set script none. Cellular DPM. Okay, I think this will work. Okay, let me hit generate now. I think the prompt is also a bit. Okay, I'll be using a different, more generic prompt. Okay, so this is the new one it created. So let me be more, prompt specific. So this is the current one I passed. Okay, so the estimation is around 29-30 seconds. So if you see the text prompt is photorealistic visionary portrait of a dignified older man with weather-worn features, digitally enhanced, high contrast, chiaroscuro lighting technique, intimate close-up, detailed, steady gaze, and so on. So we might also need to add negative prompt so that it will work accordingly, but yeah, that's fine for now. Okay, so this is not. Yeah, the details look quite good, but the face is being repeated and so on. So anime CGI deformed hand, deformed faces. Yeah, let me regenerate this once again and let me not do other anything. Mhm. So here we can see three of those